I feel very, very honored to lead our town hall conversation with one of our foremost actors who we know and love from movies ranging from The Kids Are All Right, You Can Count on Me, and Shutter Island to The Avengers. And off screen, he's also, number one, a fabulous guy, and like many of us, he feels passionately about the issue of climate reality. Mark Ruffalo, thanks for staying.
Thanks for having me again.
So, I want to start with some of the questions that our viewers had, if that's okay.
Yes, love that.
Now, remind you, this is not from me, this is from a viewer.
Okay.
It is, do you ever feel like releasing the Hulk on all the deniers? These people are just ignorant and stubborn.
You know, actually, I kind of, I have a lot of sympathy for them because I see that a lot of their position comes from fear. Fear that they're going to have to give something up, fear that ideologically they're out of touch, fear that to see change happen, but they're dwindling, and any great movement that the culture or humanity has ever taken has always been met with this same kind of resistance.
There's a great quote that always says, with every death breeds innovation, which is a morbid way to look at it, but it's true. It is.
It's pure, that's evolution manifested itself.
Okay, our next question is, do you have any tips for small green changes that people can make every day?
Ride your bike. Park your car 2 blocks away from where you're headed. Take mass transit if you live in an amazing city like New York where we have incredible mass transit.
You're a biker.
I'm a biker. I put my kids on my bike. I love to walk. Walking's great, you know. It's and you sleep better and you stay trim.
Exactly, we all love that.
Now, you know, a big thing is meat, is animal production. That creates an enormous amount of methane gas, which is 70 times more damaging than carbon in the short term. So. They just started a program called Meatless Monday. It's Paul McCarthy and Stella McCarthy. I just signed up for that. You could go online and do that. If you want to be really bold, you could lease a solar system from Sungevity or Solar City. There's lots we can do. You could get a Leaf, you could get a Tesla, you could get ride a bike, a motorcycle, electric motorcycle. There's lots we could do.
And I love the fact that you don't have to think of this as giving up something.
No.
So as I was talking to you before off stage, you know, I drive an all-electric vehicle, but I drive a BMW because I wanted to make sure that I still had a nice car that I like to drive, but it is all electric.
Did you give up anything?
No.
You gave up. You used to love to go to the gas station.
I gave up paying $80 every time I went to the gas station.
I'm sorry to hear that. You know, but that's a price you have to pay for change. So what are you paying basically for a gallon of gas now? If you were going to extrapolate,
I think every time I plug it in, I think it's $1 for a full charge. It's $1.
And how far can you drive on that?
100 miles.
100 miles for $1?
A little aggressive, so maybe it's 80, but
Sign me up. My neighbors in upstate New York would love that deal.
I mean, innovation really is our answers to this.
It's what we do. You know, it's what we do as Americans. This is 100% American.
Well, I have to ask because being, you know, an entertainment reporter, a lot of people want to know, what do some of your co-stars say about this? What do some of the Hollywood people say about this? Are they into it? Do they? They're
all into it. They're all of them are solar, recycling their water, electric cars. They all get this, and they don't know where to place it or feel well enough educated about it to jump out in front of it. But they're all living, they're all moving this way.
You were saying before.
And my brother Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean,
I know.
And he's really emboldened and enlivened by this conversation, and you'll see him making some very bold moves. He's a wonderful leader and fearless, and he's my brother in this.
I love him and the work that his foundation does.
Yes.
Now, one thing that you have that Leo doesn't have is you have 3 kids.
Yes.
How important are your children and the health of your children and the future of your children to you, and especially in really pushing you through this green movement?
Ultimately, it really is about my kids. And not just my kids, but my neighbors' kids and all these kids that I know. I used to do the carpool, so I had 7 kids in the car. And I know them all really well. And I look at them and I know that we all know where we're headed if we don't do something. And so it really is more about them. I'm not going to be around to see these changes probably to manifested to the completion, but I want to leave them a world that these changes are in place.
One of the things I've heard that you really are exploring is with your solar panels, but specifically on schools.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, schools use a lot of energy, and they're not being lit at night.
Schools are adopting this. Schools and churches are some of the great stories of this particular grand story. There's schools all over the United States that are adopting this and cutting their energy prices. And those schools become a hub of information to the community. And so when the community sees that the school is paying 20% less or 40% or 60% less for their energy bills a year, then that signals to them. Churches as well. Churches have a hard time. They struggle with the budget. They want to know what they're going to be paying for electricity 10 years from now. And with the fossil fuel industry, which goes up 12% above inflation every year, they have no idea. They can't project what their budget's going to be. So that takes care of that for a school, a church, a business.
And one thing that you keep touching on, and I feel like a lot of naysayers disagree with this, is that renewable energy saves money.
Yeah.
Not that it costs extra money. How do you explain that to people that say, well, that's not true. It's really expensive to put solar on top of my house, or really expensive to buy an electric car, because they are up front more expensive.
Yes, but if you lease solar, you could put solar on your house without having to pay a dime. And actually no real monies leave your pocket and go directly to the solar leaser. They actually take their monthly bill out of your savings. So when they put solar on your house, they cut your energy costs by 40%. They keep 20 and they pass 20 on to you. And you never have to pay a dime, okay? Right now, the people who are adopting solar are middle classers in the United States. In the last 2 months, that's what's driving this market now. Once people see, I have it on my house, I see my bills. Once you see the bills or you see your neighbor doing it, then that whole argument loses credibility. And I believe that this is a social justice aspect to this as well. We can have 100% for 100%. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason that the working poor and rural poor can't own and control their own energy resources. This is like farming the sun.
It's true.
And it's so clearly American. It takes care of our economics, it takes care of our health care, it gives us healthier families, and it takes care of our national security. And what it's doing is we get to own and control our own energy resources. And I say, whoever controls your energy controls your destiny.
So do you actually feel more freedom by having a solar panel on your house?
Absolutely. Now, the new technology that hasn't rolled out yet is the new battery technology developed by Tesla. They're piloting that in California right now. They'll put a battery system in your house. Your solar feeds the battery. If there's ever an emergency, another climate disaster, you're not sitting without energy for 2 or 3 weeks. You're drawing off of the power of that battery system, and you're no longer reliant on a utility. That is the wave of the future, and that's what will give people a sense of peace about their energy. They're creating it. They're storing it. They could sell it back to their neighbor.
And make money.
And make money.
One thing that I just heard recently that car companies are thinking of with electric cars is that your car is actually your battery. So at night, you charge your car during the day, driving around, and then at night you plug your house into your car. And that actually powers your house at night when you need your lights on.
It will peak energy.
Peak energy.
We're paying 30% more for peak energy. Your car will be parked in your garage, and you'll be drawing off your car while your neighbors are drawing peak energy and paying 30% more. You'll be paying nothing.
That's so great.
It's so elegant. The whole system has such a beautiful elegance to it because that car becomes rolling storage. See, they've always said that the problem with renewable energy or clean energy is that what happens when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing, you know? Well, you store the energy during that time, and you store it in your car. And so every car that's on the road becomes roving storage, and it moves from one place to the other. And but that's quantifiable. You could plug that in and go sell it back to the grid.
Exactly.
So it's a beautiful, complete, like closed circle. You're creating your power. It drives you around, and your car is storing that power, and you carry your energy with you. It's beautiful.
I love that. Where's my power plant? Click, click. Oh, there it is.
Exactly.
In my car.
Yes, my personal power plant.
This is the 24 Reasons of Hope. Mm-hmm. What gives you hope?
That we're sitting here having this discussion today. And not only are we having this discussion, but it's backed up by science, and it's backed up by real life stories. You know, this isn't happening in a vacuum. These are real Americans right now, real individuals, real groups who are actually doing this. And I see it as our job to get those stories told. And that's why I started one of the founders of the Solutions Project. And it's those stories that give us hope. When we see it in action, it leaves the abstract and makes it tangible. Just like climate change. Climate change was an abstract idea that some scientists had. And it didn't have power in our lives, a negative driving power, until it started touching our lives. And now we see people from all over who at one time were climate deniers, who didn't believe it was happening, who have lost their lives, their livelihoods, their homes, the things they love because of this thing. And conversely, it's the same tangibility that will drive us to change when we see it actually in action.
What do you think is the biggest change that because you keep saying America, so we as America, what's the biggest change we can make?
By adopting 100% mentality. It's time. And I know it's a reach, it's a big grasp, but when we do our best work as Americans is when we reach deep. You know, it reminds me of going on the moon. We didn't even have the technology available to us when Kennedy decided that we should go to the moon. And we made that happen. When we fought World War II, we didn't have a chance in hell to get us to win. But we motivated ourselves because we were facing a cataclysmic enemy, and we're here today. We are facing an enemy that's a world enemy. It should be looked at as an enemy. It should be engaged as an enemy, and it should inspire. It should inspire our imaginations and our ability to innovate and our ability as Americans to invent and to create. That's what should be driving us, not the negative downward pressures of bad stories or corporate interests that don't want to see this happen.
Also, I want to go back to the economic value of this.
Yes.
People can make money doing this. People can invest in companies that are doing this. They're the wave of the future.
Yes.
How do you support that in your own life?
Well, we know that when you get to scale of mass, everything becomes cheaper. It's like the big giant cell phone that was $5,000 or the laptop that was $7,000. Now you could get one for $300, okay? That comes from innovation and investment. Now, we've seen Germany take this market and smash it, bring it down, make everything much cheaper because they flooded the market with a need. That's where we're headed. And I'm working with a divest and invest movement with the Wallace Global Fund. And what we're saying is hey, and I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to have them go and look at all my bank accounts, my investments, everything. And I'm without shame, I'm going to have them point out the things that is related to fossil fuels or climate change, and I'm going to take my money out of those things, and I'm going to put them into clean energy and clean energy tech, because I believe in the future, man. And I believe in our country, and I believe in innovation. And that's where I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I invite everyone to do the same, because that's what's going to drive the change in this country. Bill Gates, Bono, Elon Musk. Elon's already done it, you billionaires, put your money where your mouth is. You want to see this happen? You want to fight climate change? Invest in clean tech.
It's interesting because people do. Their house is green. They eat organic. They eat local. They drive electric vehicles, and then they just don't think about what's in their 401k or what's in. They just don't think about it. And when you go look at it, you might not realize who you are funding in your mutual fund.
That's where the rubber hits the road.
Be bad, or they might just be companies that you don't support, and that's really important for people to look for.
This is where the jobs are. This is where it's happening, and there's a lot of money to be made. I was telling you, there's I think it's 50 million homes in the United States are ready for solar right now. We have about 1 million homes that have it. That's probably the biggest untapped market in the nation right now, and there are a lot of people scrambling to get a piece of that.
Yeah.
That's no lie.
I live in California, so I always get so excited when I drive around and I see all these, middle-class homes, upper-class homes, lower-class homes with solar panels.
Yes.
It really makes a difference, especially in California. I would hope that every single house in California has solar panels.
Please, in Florida.
We have the sun.
The Sunshine State.
Yeah, Phoenix.
They don't have solar at all yet.
What would you say to young people to inspire them? Because I really believe it's the kids that can go home and nag their parents also to make change.
Well, I would say keep pushing, and that this is your world, and that you are the change, and you get it, and you have the technology available to you, and you live in a really special time. You live in a time when anything you can imagine, you can create. That's a time we're living in. It's a particularly magical time. And the young people have so much more at their fingertips to instigate and push for change. And they have the internet, and they've mastered it. And it is really probably the greatest tool of democracy in the history of mankind. And we haven't even begun to tap the power of it. And they're the ones, you're the ones, that are going to change the world.
What's the coolest thing, or what's the thing that your children have done that you've been the most proud of?
They just kind of talk about it. They know about it. And they don't give me too hard a time when I say we're taking a subway, 50 blocks to get you guys to school. My daughter, she wanted a mini bike, but she had to make sure it was an electric one. And she said, I said, why electric? She goes, I don't want, the other ones are too loud. They use gas, and you have to frack to get them, to power them, and I don't want to be part of that. My 7-year-old.
That's when you know you've made a difference.
Well, knock on wood.
Right?
Yes.
And looking out on our beautiful view behind us,
yes,
which I promise everybody at home, this is real. It looks fake, but this is really our view.
Yes, it's real.
What do you see when you look out there at the sky?
I see, well, I love it. I see a delight at first blush. I also see those clouds, so we have our fight cut out for us, but there's also a beautiful blast of sunlight all around us. And so we sort of have this difficult thing ahead of us, but at the same time, we have a way out, and I do see I see a lot of hope. Actually, I've got a lot of faith in us in the future.
Mark, thank you so much.
Sure, nice
You're
talking
great.
to you.
We appreciate you
too.
so
Nice
much.
talking.